I can't be seen by my past self, it'll disrupt the space-time continuum. Oh no. What's up everyone, Joe here. Today I'm gonna time travel to the past to save myself time. I recently watched Back to the Future and decided to get practical with time travel. Now I don't have a DeLorean with a flux capacitor, nor a phone booth with access to the time circuits, so then what? Well, using this TV remote, I can emit special infrared signals on myself which entrain me to a different point in time. Now the problem is my body won't absorb nearly enough infrared since the blast isn't very powerful with battery power. In fact, according to my calculations, I'll need about 1.41 gigawatts of infrared blast. Fortunately, I have other ways to obtain power. Using this multimeter, I can harness power from a wall outlet by trapping what I capture. Now, multimeters are not designed to capture electricity since they're meant to provide a digital readout. But not to worry, we can still capture electricity by wrapping this electrical tape around it, which acts as an insulator. We need to do a good job wrapping the tape around it as we want to minimize power escaping from it. But first, we have a couple other problems we need to take care of. So first of all, there's no way we could possibly store all 1.21 gigawatts in this fashion. So now what? Well, typically objects are emitting something called non-ionizing radiation, which means it isn't very powerful and won't cause things like skin or tissue damage. Ionizing radiation is the opposite of that. We could use ionizing radiation to get more power. Now to clarify, we're not actually getting more power. Instead, it'll allow us to do more with less power. So the way it works is ionizing radiation has more energy and also heat, which in turn is more energy as well. Now it will increase the risk of cancer by nature, so I'm going to protect myself by limiting my short-term exposure to it since I'm rarely going to be time traveling to begin with. You may also consider wearing protection to reduce the risk, it's up to you. You could also use a transformer or something more practical instead, but I don't have that handy right now. So the way I'm planning to accomplish ionization is by exposing this electrical tape to ionizing UV light. X-rays should work for this too, I think. Anything that has a UV light, usually for cleaning stuff, should work for this. My hearing aid dryer has one as an example. Now it is important to note that not all ultraviolet is ionizing. I'm pretty sure this is ionizing anyway, because it does warn you to protect your eyes and skin. Or at least I hope it's ionizing anyway. If it's not, the worst thing that would probably happen is I just won't have enough energy to time travel. Actually, it might even cause me to cease to exist altogether. Oh crikey, that could be pretty bad. Should probably think about getting my will written so my parents know to sue the UV light company just in case. Yeah, my entire existence depends on whether that's ionizing. Anyway, the ionization will wear off over time, so don't do it until you're actually ready to time travel. Let's begin now. So the first thing you're going to want to do is kind of consider the amount of power that there actually is. You can basically tell if you've ionized it enough based on how much heat you feel on the surface. This is also a dryer which produces its own heat, which makes it a little bit tricky. But I just want to make sure that the ionization is what's actually causing the heat in the first place. So why don't we go ahead and put it in and give it a shot one. So I'm gonna give that maybe about 15 seconds and then just see what it feels like just to get an idea of how quickly it's doing it. So this has been about 15 seconds, so let's give it a shot. So this doesn't feel warm at all, so I know it's gonna take a little while for it to happen. So alright, it's been a few minutes, so let's check. So something to keep in mind is the light automatically shuts off after a minute, so I will have to keep monitoring it to make sure. Okay, so it feels a little bit warm but not a whole lot. So something you might also consider doing is turning it around frequently so you can kind of even it out. Doesn't have a turntable built into it, unfortunately. And we can't use microwaves because that's non-ionizing, but this will work. I'd say just kind of keep going and then turn it maybe even flip it once you get the one side, and then you can evenly heat it around. So I'm gonna do that for a little while. Alright, I've been letting it run for a little while, so let's see how it is. Oh, yep, that's definitely good now. So obviously careful, don't burn yourself, and obviously limit your exposure with it, because you are kind of exposing yourself to cancer, but it's more of a problem if you do it for prolonged periods of time. Again, I'm limiting how much I time travel, so I'm just going to kind of accept the risk. Otherwise, I might use gloves or something to maybe help protect me. But alright, this is good to go. So I'll be able to wrap it up once I'm ready. Unfortunately, even the ionization won't be enough for us to safely emit our infrared blast. Fortunately, we can think fourth dimensionally, since we are time traveling after all, and utilize a concept called temporal dispersion. So rather than using energy emitted at any given moment, we could use energy dispersed over time at a natural rate. We can accomplish that by sending a special power distribution signal to the multimeter. Fortunately, we can send the signal using anything that can send raw signal to the multimeter's common ground interface right here. I'm going to use a TI calculator for this. So the way the signal gets sent is through some calculator wire, which I have right here. We can have the multimeter conduct the signal using electrical tape and this link cable. Okay, so as it turns out, I actually had the multimeter wires hooked up incorrectly. This is not the correct way to wire things up. It will work here, but not in all contexts. The way you want to actually wire it up is the black ground always goes to the COM port for common ground. And then if you're measuring voltage like I was in this video, then you want to have the red one hooked up to the one labeled according to the voltage. If you're doing stuff with amperage, then you want to move this up here. If you have this hooked up and you're doing something with voltage, it might kick the breaker out. Don't ask me how I know that. But yeah, this is a more proper way to hook it up, especially if you're doing voltage on this particular multimeter. We can still hook up the calculator to the spare port because we're taking advantage of EMI radiation and residue, so I find that still works, fortunately. So probably the easiest way to accomplish power distribution is utilizing a programming concept called recursion. So the way energy typically flows is it gets emitted from the present into the future, but the signals will get sent in a recursive nature. So to help illustrate how this works, using this as a timeline, we start off here in the present and energy gets emitted into the future, but recursion will return and emit the energy in the present. We can't time travel while power is still being emitted, otherwise our temporal dispersion will fail, and so will our prior time travel. If we accidentally alter the timeline, we will have a major paradox. Who knows what'll happen? I should probably think about getting that addressed in the will too. So maybe sue the battery company if the batteries run out of power, the electrical tape company if the tape wasn't sticky enough, maybe even Texas Instruments or Smart Electrician. Yeah, I should probably get that taken care of sooner than later. Anyway, using all these concepts should safely give us enough energy. Let's real quick demonstrate how the calculator is accomplishing power distribution using PWM signals and converting from AC to DC current. Alright, so I'm going to send the signal for my TI-85 calculator using a program I've already written for this. Anything should work as long as it can transmit signals over a wire, like this one. So I basically created a time travel program itself. And what that does is it basically initializes our energy variables that you would expect. And then this send is how you actually send signals over this wire. So basically a 0 gets interpreted as false with binary, which is treated like an off-duty PWM signal. And then a 1 is an on-duty PWM signal. It'll tell the multimeter to send power with 1 over this wire. 0 tells it to not send any power. And then -1 is just a raw signal, which will basically read whatever's in the common ground interface, which will most likely be the digital readout on the multimeter itself. It'll wait for us to press enter, because the time travel actually starts the moment we press enter, as you'll see later on. So it waits for that. It'll run the emit energy and call it recursively, which will emit energy from the present to the future but function like one continuous burst. So the emit energy, what that does is we got all of our base cases here. Like this will make sure that we have a connection to the multimeter with this cable to begin with. And then it'll send on-duty PWM signals recursively, which will control the power distribution. Then it reads the raw signal and converts that into gigawatts so we can tally it up. Then it displays our total gigawatts as well as the percent that we've gotten from it out of the 1.21 that we need. And then it does that at 60 hertz. Once we got our energy captured, this is what recursively calls it. So that's how we're going to accomplish the power distribution from the calculator. Alright, we are now ready to harness the power for time travel. So the first thing we want to do is make sure that the multimeter is correctly set, which for me that's 120 volts. So I'm just going to adjust it to AC 200, which should handle the 120. Yours may be 240, whatever, depending on where you are. So you want to make sure it handles at least that amount. So now I have mine correctly set. So something else that you have to keep in mind is, if you saw how my calculator program was written, that handles a 60 hertz outlet. You may need to adjust it to 50 or whatever your outlet may be. So now we need to harness our power till we get the 1.21 gigawatts. The power readings seem to factor in ionization according to my testing I've done, which makes the math really convenient. Unfortunately, we won't get to see the screen while the electrical tape is wrapped around it, but not to worry, we can also write a calculator program that tallies up the captured energy. It works pretty much just like the time travel one, just reads the energy from the raw signal, then tallies it up. Alright, so now we just wrap the electrical tape around it, which may be a rather difficult job. We need to make sure we secure this as well, which kind of goes on the port, but it's not super secure, so the electrical tape will address that too. Now I just kind of start wrapping it around. I want to do multiple layers in each area to make sure it's as secure as you can possibly make it. And with it insulated, we want to make sure that we do a good job sealing everything off too. And then we are also going to want to make sure that we do a good job wrapping so that we can still access the on-off switch, because we will need that later on too. And don't forget to put layers on to help seal off the sides as well, because we need to make sure that there's no place that current can escape, including right there. Gotta take care of that too. It's definitely better to overdo it than underdo it when it comes to this stuff. You want to make sure you have enough so that no current can escape, otherwise we will have some major problems. As you run out of tape, then just buy some more, but make sure that all the tape you use is ionized in some fashion. Once you think you've got it all, then look at it real closely and make sure there's no possible way for current to escape in any of these areas. Like I might consider doing this again. I can't tell if it could escape from this right here, but I want to do it again just to be safe. You can't have too much. You could definitely have too little, so err on the side of having too much. It's also important to remember that when the tape cools down, that's a likely sign that the ionization have wore off, so you'll want to do it again. And if you don't want to expose the device directly, that means you're going to have to put new coats of tape on it that's ionized every time you want to time travel. It's kind of a pain, but you probably shouldn't time travel too much anyway, so kind of a nice balance. Alright, I think it's pretty much ready to go now, so obviously as you double check it and make sure you're having it sealed properly, you want to pay extra attention to the cords, because that's going to be the most likely source of problems if anything causes problems with that. And of course make sure this is in the common ground interface, because that's where all the stuff will happen. Alright, so now let's hook it up to the wall outlet. So first we need to obviously connect our calculator wire to the calculator so we can tally up our total energy. And then we're going to want to immediately start the harness program, which will just tally up how much energy we've harnessed so far. Then when you hook it up to the wall, it doesn't matter which one is which as long as you go to the hot and neutral, because the negative will still work fine even though it reads negative. So why don't we hook it up now? So let's start running the program. And then we'll just hook it up like so. And there we go. We are now capturing some energy, as you can see right there. So that's obviously scientific notation. Eventually it'll get to a point where it does say 1.21 once we have all of our captured energy. So now we wait basically. So while we're waiting, I'll quickly elaborate on a few more things. So you may notice one potential problem with this setup. How in the world are we going to hook this up to the TV remote? If current can get in through this, well, then obviously it can escape the same way, right? Well, one thing we can do is we can turn off the multimeter, which will suspend all current and prevent it from escaping when we hook it up. So when we move this to the remote, we're going to want to shut this off to suspend current. So let's real quickly review how the TV remote's actually going to work for our time travel. So essentially we're going to press multiple buttons for a combined unique infrared signal. So once we start our program, an off-duty PWM signal will help suspend all button presses as long as we have continuity to the remote. Then when we officially press enter to start our program, the infrared should blast immediately as long as temporal dispersion succeeded. The unique signal is based on how much time has passed since the Big Bang. And since we're blasting ourselves using infrared light, we need to account for its wavelength since light travels at a certain speed and progresses into the future. So to figure out the number we're punching in, we're going to need to take the speed of light, which is in meters per second, divided by the wavelength of infrared, which is also in meters per second, multiplied by the number of seconds since the Big Bang starting point. So according to Google, the speed of light is about 300 million meters per second. So the wavelength of infrared is between 700 to a million nanometers. Our margin of error allows us to take the average of that, which is basically 500,350. Now that's in nanometers. We need to convert that into meters per second, so just take the 0.00 whatever, multiply them together, or wait, no, we divide them and then multiply it by the number of seconds since the Big Bang starting point. Okay, so this large number right here is basically the number of hertz representing 1 second. So the time that we want to travel to, we want to convert the month, day, year, hour, minute, second, those types of things into seconds, factoring in leap years and everything like that too. We multiply that by this number right here, and that'll give us a number we need to punch in on the TV remote. Right, so here's some moments I want to travel to specifically based on time that I want to save, and basically errors that I want to prevent myself from doing that cost several hours. So unfortunately, there is a fair bit of math required, but you could set up a spreadsheet and just input the date and time, and then it'll give you the remote number automatically. I'm not going to walk through this too much, but so this is 1 second based on infrared wavelength and everything. The current year is approximately that right there. We don't know the exact point in time because scientists don't have that figured out, but this is a pretty close estimate. And then of course we got to convert the date and time into seconds, multiply that by the Big Bang year, and then we have the number of seconds since the Big Bang roughly. Then we can multiply that by the remote wavelength frequency representing 1 second. And that gives us a number we need to punch into the remote. It'll give us a unique infrared wavelength signature, and then basically the same thing for all these other ones. So if you're going to do a lot of time travel, I would highly recommend creating a spreadsheet or a program where you can just punch in the date and time and it gives you the numbers we're punching into the remote. We're also going to want to write down the current moment we're at right now so that we can come back to that. Or maybe we want to factor in the amount of time we were gone for so that like my birthday and my age doesn't offset with the real world. I want to be as synchronized with the world as I can when I come back. We don't have to, but then our birthday could change if we're gone for long enough. I'd rather not have that happen, so yeah, I get the current time, and then we will have to calculate that when we want to come back as well. Oh, it looks like we've captured our energy now, so let's stop running the programs. We got it all. Now we want to make sure that we have the multimeter shut off. It's impossible to tell if I actually shut it off or not, but when I run the harness program again, we're not capturing any energy, so I assume that I shut it off correctly. So now when I unplug this, we should lose any of our energy. I would probably make sure not to touch these just in case it does randomly blast. You don't want to electrocute yourself potentially, so I don't think it matters as long as that's off, but just in case, better not risk your life. So I think we're good now, so let's just quit that program. We're ready to time travel now. I got a little carried away for a moment. I forgot that we actually do need to connect this to here. So of course the battery's not going to be nearly powerful enough, so we're going to have to take the batteries out of the TV remote, since this is effectively our new power source right there. And then we want to have a complete circuit by putting one of these on one of the ends. It'll automatically do direct current, of course. And then the other end goes on the spring on the opposite side. We're going to want to do whatever's necessary to make sure it's secure and doesn't fall out, because we don't want it to fall out in the middle of our time travel especially. Might need to use electrical tape to secure it a little bit. I discovered that duct tape does a pretty good job holding the prongs themselves in place to make sure that there's contact. So obviously as you put it in, make sure there is contact with the remote. So now we're ready to time travel for real though. Alright, I will now travel to my first moment, which is on September 23rd, 2023 at 3:45 p.m. I happen to remember that I was gone for about an hour at that time. So now it's time to start our calculator program. We also want to make sure that the multimeter is on. The program is currently written so that it won't even work if we aren't getting a signal from the multimeter. So I'm starting the travel program. It all begins the moment we press enter now. By the way, I double checked my math, and some of the steps I had might have looked incorrect, but the number of seconds since the Big Bang and stuff was actually correct to begin with. I was using a computer to calculate all this, and so I didn't write down all my steps correctly. And then also I changed this to factor in leap year. It's really tricky because my year estimate's most likely a leap year. So is this year, but 2023 is not a leap year. Man, leap year makes everything complicated, but I changed this to factor in leap year now, so we should be good with that. Okay, so now with the off-duty PWM, we can punch in the number on the TV remote. Now we can't make any mistakes because the signal's stirring up in our continuity, and we will have to basically do all this over again if we make one little typo. So we have to punch in everything correctly. So I'm going to do that real quick. 905000. Okay. The number is now punched in, so the moment I hit enter, we're going to end up in the past. So now we need to make sure that we avoid running into our past self, otherwise we could disrupt the space-time continuum. Here we go, I'm really nervous. I can't believe this could be the end of my life if this goes wrong. Ready? Wait, did I just leave there? Ha! I didn't even have my outlet light switch yet. Man, this is awesome. Is there good evidence it worked?
Yes.
I can't believe it. Oh, we should probably put our time travel device away safely. Don't want our temporal dispersion to fail. Man, it's so hot in here. Forgot I don't have air conditioning for this time of year. I guess turning on my fans will help. So nice I can do them both remotely. What? Already? Dang it. I can't be seen. Must have been the neighbor's door. I'm bringing my key this time. Getting my stuff back was a pain last time. Stupid ottoman. That hurts. This time I will not lose track of time. Are you kidding me? I didn't have enough time. Wait, they're picking up dinner. Sweet, we're good. Not again. How did I lose track of time? Great. How's this gonna go? Computer, wake up. How did they not see me there? We gotta get out of here. Computer, open Seinfeld. Did I open that? I must have forgot to lock it. The ottoman's not hitting me now. After everything I do for myself, this is the thanks I get. Unbelievable. Ridiculous. Who are you? I'm your future self. Yeah, right. If you really future me, what is something no one knows I'm planning on doing right now? Time traveling to save time. How the... Wait, is that what this is? You figured it out? Yeah, I'm doing the time saving right now as we speak. I tried not running into you to avoid disrupting the space-time continuum. Yes, exactly. I lost track of time and failed miserably with that. No, wait. Earlier, I thought that someone opened my door and that I left my back door open. Was that you? Yeah, that was probably me. I'm sorry, I tried really hard not to run into you. No worries. I believe you when you say you're my future self, since that's my shirt and our time travel plans match up. Also, I still see it in the closet. Well, that's a relief. I'm glad we're not disrupting the space-time continuum. Yeah, same here. We're a sensible person, so relax. I'm glad. Hey, are those the new SSD drives you're setting up? Yeah, as a matter of fact, I was just getting them prepped today. You want me to save you even more time? Sure. Get rid of them ASAP. Return them and don't waste your time. Really? Why? Well, when you transfer your files, you'll notice that the transfer speed suddenly drops down to about 30 megabytes per second. That's not the SATA to USB adapter. I ruled that out. All the drives do that when they get to about 50% capacity. Ah, jeez. Are you sure it's the drives themselves? Yeah, I did hours of thorough testing over raw SATA, doing a long format, and writing down various transfer speeds. It's about 2 to 16 times slower depending on what we're doing. Also, it frequently crashes Explorer in the middle of a file transfer. Would you trust the reliability with that happening? No, that would give me PTSD. You mean pre-traumatic stress disorder? Yes, exactly. Okay, well, thanks for saving me a bunch of time and energy. No problem. Did you contact technical support to confirm it's the drive? Yeah, they said to get a different brand. They didn't seem very keen on their own product, which I thought was very interesting. Oh, weird. What should I get then? Once you get your refund, get the brand we swear by and spend about the same amount of money. You can figure out how to set it up, I'm sure. But please don't do it wrong or my setup will suddenly change because of you. I think I have a pretty good idea of what we went with, don't worry. I made a backup plan in case the drives didn't end up working out. Also, that's probably not the best shirt to wear when you're returning a product. Yeah, I think I'll probably get it changed before I return it. Okay, well, I should probably get back to the future where I belong so I could have dinner and stop wasting the save time. Okay, well, thanks again for your help. I'm excited the time travel actually worked. Me too. Oh, by the way, when you do the time travel stuff yourself, don't do any of our plans regarding the water filter, nor electrocuting yourself. And I can't remember why. Well, anyway, see ya. Alright, see ya. Good luck with everything in the future. You too. See ya. Bye. That's awesome. I'm excited. You may also consider wearing protection. It's up to you. I am not ready for this. Bro, you have such a limited capacity. You're not suited for this at all. So the way I'm a component is by exposing this electrical type. My hearing aid dryer has one as an example. Don't think about it. Just thinking about, I don't want to do multiple things because I'm making a lot of noise. Where's that? Right. Should have discontinued my sentence. Trust myself. Man, I have trust issues with myself. Should probably get some therapy to help me learn how to trust myself more. I wouldn't be dealing with this right now otherwise. But would I make up for the time with a therapy session and money as well? Don't know. See, there's all these pros and cons you have to weigh in life. It's endless. That's true. I would get this done faster going all the way through, even messing it up. Especially when I'm bound to mess up later. Just trust yourself. I really need that therapy about trusting myself. That would be kind of a funny hidden Easter egg. Why don't we make it so that the alarm just randomly shuts off? Yeah, let's do it again. Yeah, exactly. When we get in the zone, we can focus on our intonations. Yeah, that shut up does definitely have some truth to it. You kind of believe it when you hear it, but when you're actually dealing with this, there's a lot of truth.